In a quiet suburban neighborhood of Boulder, Colorado, life seemed perfect for the Mitchell family. A neatly painted white two-story house, a freshly mowed lawn, and a small swing set in the front yard where two little girls, Lily, 6, and Grace, 4, laughed as they played. Standing on the porch, their mother Sarah Mitchell smiled, waving at the neighbors walking their dogs. Her husband, David Mitchell, was the picture of a devoted father, charming, polite, and always ready to help anyone in need. To outsiders, they were the perfect American family. On social media, Sarah often shared pictures of their weekend getaways, birthday parties, and cozy family dinners. Her posts always got comments like, "Couple goals. Such a beautiful family." But behind those smiling photos, something much darker was brewing. David worked as a project manager at a local construction firm. His schedule was long, but he always told Sarah he was doing it for the family. Lately, though, things had started to feel different. He no longer looked Sarah in the eyes when they spoke. His phone was always in his hand, texting late at night, sometimes smiling at messages he never explained. If Sarah asked, "Who's that?" he would reply quickly, "Just work stuff, nothing important." But deep down, Sarah knew something was wrong. One Thursday afternoon, while tidying up the house, Sarah found something in David's laptop bag, a receipt from a fancy downtown restaurant. 2 entrees. 2 glasses of wine. The date? The exact night David had told her he was working late at the office. Her heart pounded. Is David seeing someone else? That night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. The next morning, she made a decision. She was going to follow him. She needed to know the truth, no matter how painful it was. But Sarah had no idea. The truth she was about to uncover wouldn't just shatter her marriage. It would destroy everything she thought she knew about her life. It was a cold Friday morning in Boulder, Colorado. Sarah Mitchell sat quietly in her silver SUV, parked a few houses down from her own street. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as she watched her husband David walk out the front door in his neatly pressed blue shirt and dark jeans. He glanced at his watch, then climbed into his black pickup truck. Sarah's heart raced. She waited a few seconds, then slowly started her car and began to follow him, making sure to keep a safe distance. David's usual route to work was a straight shot down Highway 36 toward downtown Boulder. But today, he didn't take that route. Instead, he turned off onto a smaller road leading toward the city center. Sarah frowned. He's not going to work. After about 15 minutes, David pulled into the parking lot of a trendy coffee shop called Maple and Main. Sarah parked across the street, lowering herself in the driver's seat, peeking just enough to see the front entrance. A few minutes later, David stepped out of his truck, and that's when Sarah saw her. A tall brunette woman in a beige trench coat approached him with a bright smile. David hugged her, not just a friendly hug, but the kind that made Sarah's stomach twist. They walked inside together, laughing, completely unaware that Sarah was just a few yards away. Sarah's chest tightened. Her worst fear was staring her in the face. For the next hour, she watched them through the coffee shop window. They leaned close as they talked, his hand brushing against hers several times. When they left, David opened the car door for the woman, and they drove away together in his truck. Sarah followed them again. This time, they ended up at a boutique hotel on the edge of town. David parked in the lot, and both of them disappeared inside. Sarah sat frozen in her car, her heart pounding in her ears. Tears blurred her vision, but she forced herself to breathe. She had the proof now. David wasn't the man she thought he was. But what Sarah didn't know was that this woman was more than just someone else. She was the key to a chain of events that would lead to something far, far worse than betrayal. Saturday morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows of the Mitchell home. Sarah stood at the counter, staring blankly at the cup of coffee in her hands. Her mind replayed every moment from yesterday. David laughing with that woman, the hotel, the lies. The sound of the front door opening pulled her back. David stepped inside, holding a small grocery bag. "Morning," he said casually, kissing her cheek. Sarah didn't move. She swallowed hard, then spoke softly. "Who is she, David?" David froze for a split second, then forced a laugh. "What are you talking about?" Sarah set her coffee down. "Don't play games with me. I saw you yesterday. The coffee shop. The hotel." His smile vanished. "You followed me?" His voice was sharp now, defensive. "Yes, I did," she snapped, her voice trembling. "Because I knew something was wrong. And now I know I was right." David slammed the grocery bag onto the counter, the eggs inside nearly cracking. "You're paranoid, Sarah." "She's just a client from work. We were discussing a project." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "In a hotel room?" David's jaw tightened. "She had documents we couldn't discuss in public. That's all." But Sarah wasn't buying it. She could see the flicker of guilt in his eyes. Her voice broke. "Just tell me the truth. Do you love her?" For a moment, David said nothing. Then he stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You have no idea what you're talking about. And if you keep pushing me like this, you're going to regret it." The word sent a chill down Sarah's spine. This wasn't the man she married. This was someone darker. David grabbed his keys and left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Sarah stood frozen, fear mixing with heartbreak. Something deep inside told her, this wasn't just about an affair. Something bigger and far more dangerous was unfolding. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw David's face, cold, unrecognizable. The man she once trusted with her life had just threatened her. By 2 a.m., she gave up on sleeping and went downstairs. Her laptop sat on the dining table, still open from earlier. She took a deep breath and typed David's email password. He never changed it. At least not yet. Dozens of messages flooded the screen. Some were from work, but others were from her, the woman from the coffee shop. Her name was Vanessa Cole. The emails weren't just about business. There were late-night messages, inside jokes, even hotel confirmations. Sarah's stomach turned. Scrolling further, she found something that made her blood run cold. Bank transactions. Large amounts of cash withdrawn every few weeks. Payments to an unfamiliar account under the name Cole Consulting LLC. She had never heard of it. At 3:15 a.m., Sarah grabbed her phone and called her best friend, Megan Carter, who lived in Denver. Half asleep, Megan answered, "Sarah? Is everything okay?" "No," Sarah whispered. "David's hiding something. And it's not just an affair." Megan paused. "What do you mean?" I think he's moving money. Big amounts. To her." The next morning, Sarah decided to follow David again. He left the house in a rush, heading toward downtown Boulder. But instead of going to the office, he pulled into a rundown warehouse district. Sarah parked a block away and waited. David got out, carrying a black duffel bag. Vanessa was there too, dressed in all black. They disappeared inside the warehouse. 30 minutes later, David emerged alone, no bag in hand. His eyes scanned the street nervously before he got into his truck and drove away. Sarah's hands trembled on the steering wheel. Whatever David was involved in, it was dangerous. And now, she was certain, this wasn't just about cheating. Sunday afternoon, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about that warehouse. Every detail replayed in her mind: the black duffel bag, Vanessa in all black, David leaving empty-handed. By 5 p.m., she had made up her mind. She was going back. The industrial district was quiet on weekends. Most of the businesses were closed, their metal shutters pulled down. Sarah parked her SUV 2 streets away and walked the rest of the distance, her hood pulled up to hide her face. When she reached the warehouse, she saw a rusty sign above the door. Cole Consulting LLC, the same name she'd seen on the bank transfers. The side entrance was padlocked, but Sarah spotted a small office window slightly open. She hesitated, glancing around. The street was empty. With a deep breath, she pushed the window open just enough to peek inside. The room was dimly lit. On a desk sat stacks of manila folders, a half-empty bottle of whiskey, and a black duffel bag identical to the one David had carried. She pulled her phone out, zooming in to take photos, but then a shadow moved across the room. Sarah froze. Vanessa stepped into view, talking on the phone. Her voice was sharp, urgent. "No, he doesn't suspect a thing. Yes, the next delivery is Tuesday. We'll have the money by then. Just make sure he doesn't back out." Sarah's pulse thundered in her ears. A delivery? Money? What were they involved in? Vanessa turned, walking toward the desk. Sarah ducked quickly, pressing her back against the wall outside the window. She waited, counting her breaths. When she peeked again, Vanessa was gone. Sarah didn't stay. She hurried back to her SUV, her hands shaking. The air felt heavier now, dangerous. It wasn't just an affair. It wasn't just money. David was part of something illegal, and Sarah had just gotten close enough to see it. The night after visiting the warehouse, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't alone. Every creak in the house made her jump. Every passing car's headlights through the curtains made her heart pound. By Monday morning, her nerves were on edge. She dropped Lily and Grace off at school, then drove toward the coffee shop where she planned to meet Megan. But halfway there, she noticed something in her rearview mirror, a dark SUV following her. At first, she told herself it was just coincidence. But every time she changed lanes, it did too. When she slowed down, so did they. Her palms began to sweat. Sarah made a sudden right turn into a residential street. The SUV followed. She pulled into a random driveway, pretending it was her home. The SUV slowed, then kept driving past. Sarah sat in her car for a moment, trying to steady her breathing. By the time she reached the coffee shop, Megan was already waiting at a corner table. Sarah slid into the seat, whispering urgently, "Megan! I think someone's following me." Megan's eyes widened. "Sarah, you need to go to the police." "I can't," Sarah said quickly. "I have no proof. And if David finds out..." She paused, lowering her voice. "I think whatever he's doing, it's big. And dangerous." Megan reached across the table, gripping her hand. "Then you need to get the girls somewhere safe. Now." Before Sarah could respond, she felt it, that prickling sensation on the back of her neck. She glanced toward the window. Across the street, leaning against a lamppost, was a man in a black jacket, staring right at her. Their eyes met for just a second before he turned and walked away. But that was enough. Sarah knew. She wasn't imagining it. Someone was watching her. And now, they knew she was watching them too. That night, Sarah couldn't stop replaying the man's face in her mind. The way he stared at her, cold, calculating, it wasn't random. Someone wanted her to know she was being watched. She knew Megan was right. She had to get Lily and Grace out of the house. By 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, she packed a small overnight bag for the girls, clothes, toothbrushes, their favorite stuffed animals. She told David she was taking them to spend the night at Megan's place in Denver. David barely looked up from his coffee. "Fine," he muttered. "Do whatever you want." The ride to Megan's was tense. Sarah kept checking her mirrors, half expecting to see that dark SUV again. But this time, the road behind her was empty. When they arrived, Megan hugged the girls and led them inside. Sarah felt a small sense of relief, until her phone buzzed. It was a text. No name. No number. Just 3 words. "You're too late." Her blood ran cold. She showed Megan, whose face went pale. "Sarah, this isn't safe anymore." "You need to call the police." Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but her phone rang. It was the school. The principal's voice was calm but strange. "Mrs. Mitchell, I just wanted to confirm that you sent someone to pick up Lily and Grace earlier today." Sarah froze. Her throat went dry. "What?" "No, they're with me. Right now." There was a pause. "Ma'am, we saw your husband's truck in the parking lot this morning. He asked about them. We told him they weren't here." Sarah's hand shook violently as she hung up. David knew she had taken the girls away. And now, she was certain he would do whatever it took to get them back under his control. She glanced toward Megan's front window. Across the street, parked in the shadows, was the same dark SUV. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. The constant fear, the watching eyes, the unanswered questions, it was suffocating her. She knew she had to face David. That evening, she drove back to Boulder, her heart pounding with every mile. When she pulled into the driveway, David's truck was there. The house was dark except for the faint glow from the living room. Sarah stepped inside. David sat on the couch, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring at the blank TV screen. He didn't even look up when she spoke. "Why are you following me?" she demanded. "Why is there a black SUV outside Megan's house? Why are you asking about the girls at school?" Finally, his eyes met hers, and they were cold, empty. "You think you're so clever, Sarah," he said slowly. "But you have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." She took a cautious step forward. "Then tell me, what is this? What are you hiding?" David leaned back, swirling the whiskey in his glass. "You saw Vanessa. You saw the warehouse. You think it's just an affair and some money moving around?" He gave a humorless laugh. "It's bigger than that. Much bigger." Sarah's voice shook. "Are you doing something illegal?" His smirk widened. "Let's just say, I have business partners who don't like loose ends. And right now, Sarah, you're a loose end." Her breath caught in her throat. "You're threatening me?" David stood, walking toward her slowly. "I'm telling you to stop digging. Forget what you saw. Keep your mouth shut. Or you won't just lose me, you'll lose everything." For a moment, they stood inches apart, the silence between them heavy. Then David stepped past her and walked toward the front door. "Go back to Megan's. Take the girls. And pretend you never saw anything." As he left, Sarah realized something terrifying. David wasn't just protecting himself. He was protecting someone else. And whatever he was involved in had just put her and the girls in deadly danger. The next morning, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about David's words. Business partners who don't like loose ends. It wasn't just a threat. It was a warning. She decided to dig deeper into Vanessa Cole. Using her laptop, Sarah searched public records, news articles, anything she could find. At first, it was nothing unusual. A consulting business, a few charity events, a handful of social media posts. But then she found it. 3 years ago, Vanessa had been questioned by police in connection with an illegal arms smuggling case in Denver. She was never charged, but the investigation linked her to a man named Mark Riley, a known figure in organized crime circles. Sarah's chest tightened. Mark Riley had been arrested for trafficking stolen weapons, and large amounts of cash had disappeared right before his arrest. The FBI suspected that someone close to him had hidden the money. Someone like Vanessa. Scrolling further, Sarah's blood ran cold. There, in a blurry photo from a Denver nightclub, was Vanessa, standing next to David, his arm around her waist. Smiling. The date on the photo? 6 months before David and Sarah's 10th wedding anniversary. Her hands trembled as she clicked on another article. This one mentioned that investigators believe Riley's missing money was being moved through legitimate-looking small businesses. Businesses like Cole Consulting LLC. And suddenly, it all clicked. The warehouse. The black duffel bags. The large bank transfers. David wasn't just having an affair. He was laundering money for Vanessa's criminal network. Sarah's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking. Last warning." Her heart pounded. She looked out the window. The dark SUV was back. This time, it was parked right in front of Megan's house. The air felt heavy that night at Megan's house. Sarah kept glancing out the window, the dark SUV still parked under the streetlight, its engine running. The girls were asleep upstairs, unaware of the danger outside. At 11:47 p.m., her phone buzzed, another message from the unknown number. "Come outside. Alone." Sarah's stomach knotted. Megan tried to stop her. "Sarah, don't go out there. Please. Call the police." But Sarah knew if she involved the police now, David might retaliate before they could protect her or the girls. Taking a deep breath, she slipped on her coat and stepped outside. The cold night air bit at her skin as she walked toward the SUV. The tinted window rolled down, and David was behind the wheel. Beside him sat Vanessa, her face partially hidden in the shadows. "Get in," David said, his voice flat. Sarah hesitated. Vanessa leaned forward. "You've caused a lot of trouble, Sarah. We need to make sure you understand the consequences." Against her better judgment, Sarah got in the back seat. The SUV pulled away from the curb, heading toward the outskirts of town. Silence filled the car except for the hum of the engine. After 20 minutes, they stopped near an abandoned quarry. David got out first, then opened her door. "You should have just stayed quiet," he said. Sarah's breath quickened. "David, please think about the girls." For the first time, his expression faltered. But Vanessa stepped closer, her voice sharp. "She's a liability. You know what needs to be done." David's jaw tightened. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small pistol. Sarah's knees went weak. "David, please!" The wind howled through the quarry. David stood frozen for what felt like forever. Then he lowered the gun. "Get out of here, Sarah. Take the girls. Don't ever come back." Vanessa's face twisted in rage. "What are you doing? She'll talk." David ignored her, turning back toward the SUV. "Go," he barked. "Before I change my mind." Sarah didn't wait. She ran, her breath burning in her lungs, until the SUV's headlights disappeared in the distance. By dawn, she and the girls were gone. No goodbyes. No explanations. She never saw David again. Weeks later, news broke. A warehouse in Boulder had been raided by federal agents. Vanessa Cole was among those arrested. David Mitchell was never found. Some say he fled the country. Others believe Vanessa's people dealt with him. Sarah never knew for sure. But every so often, late at night, she swore she could feel something